Sign now, or your family loses this ranch.
This is my land, Susan. You're done here.
The HOA conspiracy. The sun was barely up, casting a soft glow over our 20-acre ranch in rural Texas, when I heard the crunch of tires on gravel. I was in my workshop, the familiar hiss of my welding torch filling the air, when a sleek black SUV pulled into the driveway. A woman stepped out, her polished appearance screaming city money-tailored suit, flawless makeup, and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She introduced herself as Margaret Wheeler, president of the Sunny Hills Homeowners Association, and claimed our ranch was a threat to community safety. She gave me 24 hours to join her HOA or face property seizure. When I told her to get off my land, her smile tightened, and she made a phone call. 5 hours later, a SWAT team surrounded our home, rifles pointed at my pregnant wife and terrified kids, forcing me to sign their papers. But Margaret didn't know I was a stubborn veteran who'd rather fight than fold. And she didn't know our dusty ranch held secrets worth killing for. My name's John Harper, a 52-year-old welder and former Marine. My wife, Emily, and our kids 10-year-old Ben and 7-year-old Sophie had made this ranch our haven. We bought it 3 years ago with my VA loan, a slice of freedom away from the world's noise. That morning in April, as I worked on a custom gate for a client in town, everything felt right. The smell of bacon drifted from the kitchen where Emily was cooking breakfast. The kids were laughing, chasing each other around the yard. Then Margaret showed up, and our world turned upside down. She strode toward me with the confidence of someone used to getting her way. "You must be John Harper," she said, her voice smooth as honey but cold as ice. "I'm Margaret Wheeler, president of Sunny Hills HOA. I've been looking forward to meeting you and your charming family." I set down my torch, pulled off my gloves, and shook her hand, though something about her made my skin crawl. "We're not part of any HOA," I said firmly. "We bought this place before your subdivision went up. Your rules don't apply here." Her smile didn't falter, but a flicker of something anger maybe crossed her eyes. "Oh, John," she said, pulling out a tablet loaded with official-looking documents. "The community's grown since you moved here. Your ranch is surrounded by HOA properties now. For everyone's safety, we need you to join." The way she said safety felt like a threat. Her eyes scanned our property, lingering on the new barn I'd built, the upgraded electrical lines, and the well behind the house. It wasn't neighborly interest, it was predatory. I kept my tone polite but firm. "We're fine on our own. We maintain our place, don't bother anyone, and we like our independence." Margaret's smile grew sharper. "I understand, but think of the bigger picture. What if there's an emergency? Non-compliant properties drag down everyone's safety and property values." She swiped through photos on her tablet: fences, landscaping, normal stuff she spun as violations. "We have enforcement procedures," she added, the words heavy with menace. Emily stepped out, wiping her hands on a dish towel, and Margaret turned on the charm, complimenting our home while asking odd questions. How deep was our well? Had we done soil tests? Noticed any geological oddities? Emily and I exchanged glances. These weren't HOA questions. After 20 minutes, Margaret handed me a thick packet of papers. "You have 48 hours to review the membership agreement," she said. "Oh, and check Section 12B of the Community Safety Requirements. It's educational." She drove off, leaving me with a bad feeling and a stack of legal jargon. That night, Emily and I pored over the papers at the kitchen table while the kids watched TV. The contract was a maze of legalese, with clauses about emergency assessments and expedited compliance that sounded like trouble. Emily, a former journalist with a knack for research, dug into Sunny Hills HOA online. "This is weird, John," she said, frowning at her laptop. "There's barely anything about this HOA. No website, just a basic incorporation filing from 6 months ago." Then I saw Ida's signature at the bottom of the HOA letterhead. I'd seen that handwriting before, 20 years ago, on a letter that nearly ruined me. It was from Susan Carter, my ex-fiancée from my Marine days, who'd stolen $15,000 in classified documents, disappearing after nearly getting me court-martialed. The next morning, Emily was up early, coffee brewing, digging deeper. "This HOA stinks," she said. "Incorporated 6 months ago by Margaret Wheeler and 2 shell companies that don't exist anywhere else. They've already seized 4 properties for safety violations. The doorbell rang, and my stomach sank. A man in a cheap uniform, a badge that looked like it came from a costume shop, stood there. "Mr. Harper, I'm here for your daily compliance inspection," he said. He walked our property, scribbling notes about grass height and mailbox color, then handed me a $500 citation for improper community integration. Emily got one for our vegetable garden, apparently unapproved by some architectural committee. When we protested that we weren't HOA members, he shrugged. All properties in the HOA boundary are subject to compliance, member or not. Fines will keep coming until you join. I visited our neighbor, Mrs. Clara Thompson, a 75-year-old widow who'd lived here for decades. She was nervous, her kitchen table covered with citations. "Margaret came to me 3 months ago," she said. "I refused at first, but the fines piled up. I signed to avoid foreclosure, paid $2,000 in fees plus thousands in fines." She lowered her voice. "Then there's Jim Baxter, a rancher 5 miles south. He fought Margaret, threatened lawyers. A month later, he died in a car crash on a clear road. Jim was the best driver I knew." She showed me a clipping about another rancher, Ed Miller, who died in a house fire after resisting Margaret. "Electrical fault," they said, but Ed was an electrician. His wiring was perfect. Back home, Emily pointed to Section 12B in the contract. If the HOA deems a property a community safety threat, they can seize it within 48 hours of membership, no court approval needed. Another clause, 4A, said $5,000 in fines made you a provisional member, subject to all rules. At $500 a day, we'd hit that in 8 days. The trap was clear. Margaret was using fines to force us into membership, then Section 12B to steal our land. Emily's research uncovered a pattern. She marked seized properties on a map, forming a circle around high ground with water access. "These aren't random," she said, pulling out geological surveys. "Our ranch sits on a rare earth mineral deposit worth tens of millions used in tech, batteries, you name it." A recent survey, dated 2 years ago, confirmed our land's value. Margaret wasn't just after our home, she was after a fortune. I walked our property and found small, disguised holes, evidence of core sampling. Someone had been testing our land. Then I saw Margaret's SUV on the road, her watching me through binoculars. "Finding anything interesting, John?" she called, her tone mocking. "I hope you're not disturbing geological features. The HOA has strict rules." I held up my phone, showing photos of the holes. "Someone's been testing my land without permission." "Know anything about that?" Her smile didn't waver. "Routine county monitoring," she lied. "Join the HOA voluntarily, John. It's easier when you cooperate." That evening, Deputy Tom Bradley knocked on our door. A young cop we knew from town hooked up uneasily. "Off the record," he said, "Margaret's story doesn't add up. She claims to be a local business owner, but there's no record of her here before 18 months ago. Her real name is Susan Carter, discharged from the Marines in 2004 for theft and security violations. She's been linked to 12 property scams across 6 states, targeting veterans. Owners who resist sell cheap or die in accidents." Emily showed him our map. "She's stolen $50 million in properties," she said. "And she started this HOA 20 years ago, right after leaving the military. This is personal." The next morning, the HOA inspector arrived with a police convoy and a SWAT van. Margaret stepped out, holding fake federal credentials, directing a man in a suit who seemed to be calling the shots. 6 tactical officers checked their rifles, treating our home like a war zone. Emily pulled the kids close, whispering, "Protect them first. Don't fight." The SWAT leader pounded on the door. "John Harper, open up. We have reports of a non-compliant owner threatening community safety." Margaret held out a membership contract. "Sign, and this ends peacefully," she said. The kids were crying, Emily's hands shaking. I had no choice. As I reached for the pen, Margaret's purse spilled. Among the contents was a photo of me in my Marine uniform, my face crossed out in red. On the back, in Susan's handwriting, Phase 1, create HOA. Phase 2, force membership. Phase 3, seize property. Phase 4, eliminate John Harper. The pieces clicked. Susan Carter, my ex, had tracked me down, built this scam to ruin me, and was using the HOA to steal our mineral-rich land. I signed, and and the SWAT team left. Margaret lingered, gloating. Welcome to Sunny Hills, John. Membership will be educational. After comforting our traumatized kids, Emily and I planned our next move. She dug into Susan's past, confirming her history of scams. I met Deputy Bradley at a diner. That SWAT raid wasn't right, he said. Susan presented fake federal orders claiming you're an environmental terrorist. But I found 15 properties she's stolen, all from veterans, many followed by accidents. You're in danger. Emily's research revealed Susan's acquisitions weren't random. Her targets are near military bases or strategic resources, she said, showing a map. She's working for foreign firms, controlling American assets. This is bigger than revenge. Bradley confirmed. Susan's hit 12 states. Always the same pattern: fake HOAs, forced membership, seizures, and deaths. You're her 13th target. Susan called an emergency HOA meeting at a Holiday Inn conference room, aiming to paint me as a threat. She presented doctored photos and fake reports, claiming our ranch was a hazard. I stood up, holding the photo from her purse. Margaret Wheeler is Susan Carter, I said, discharged from the Marines for theft. She's stolen land from 15 veterans, some of whom died suspiciously. Bradley backed me up with his evidence, and Mrs. Thompson spoke out about her harassment. The room turned against Susan. Furious, she held up my contract. Section 12B lets us seize your property in 48 hours, she snarled, storming out. Emily found a loophole in Section 15C. HOA actions needed majority member approval within 72 hours, or they're void. Susan's members were fake shell companies. Bradley connected us with the state attorney general, who'd been investigating Susan for 2 years. Her arrest came that afternoon. FBI agents caught her shredding documents. Charges included fraud, extortion, and violating veterans' rights. Her $200 million scam was one of the largest targeting veterans in U.S. history. At a community meeting, neighbors apologized for believing Susan's lies. A real estate attorney confirmed her seizures were void, and the HOA was dissolved. Susan got 25 years in prison, and $50 million in stolen property was returned to the victims. Our ranch's mineral wealth secured our future. Emily gave birth to our 3rd child, Lily, a symbol of hope. The kids healed, our community grew stronger, and I rebuilt my welding business with new friends. But Bradley called last week with chilling news. Susan's storage unit held files on 12 more veterans with valuable land. Her network is still out there, targeting people like us. If you're a veteran or own property, watch for fake HOAs or shady deals. Research everything, question authority, and never sign under pressure. Justice is possible, but only if you fight. What do you think about Susan's tactics and the abuse of power we've faced? Have you seen injustice or bullying in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective on standing up to those who use fear to control others.